Hey there, on today's episode, I'm going to share a story with you about the thing I feared the most that recently transformed my life. It's an amazing story, and I invite you to listen and think about some of the things where you let fear hold you back from achieving your dreams, because at the end, I'm going to give you some key takeaways to help you transform the fear into something amazing. Hey there, it's Suzanne Oshima, your fellow sister on a mission to empower and inspire you through the twists and turns of midlife. And I'm here to help you transform it into your best life with the Life is Now podcast. And I'm super excited to dive into this new journey together. During the pandemic, Instagram became my escape. I would spend so many hours, I can't tell you how many hours, scrolling and dreaming about all the road trips that I wanted to take to breathtaking places like Zion National Park, the Grand Canyon. Yes, I know, I've never been to the Grand Canyon, and Yellowstone National Park. These are all places I'd never been, but on Instagram, all those posts look spectacular. And I felt like, even though we were in the midst of a pandemic, I felt like I had all the time in the world to visit these incredible destinations. But if you've been following me for a while, as you know, I was diagnosed with cancer. And when I was diagnosed with cancer during the pandemic, my head spun with a million regrets about unfulfilled dreams. And one of the biggest regrets that I had was traveling to my bucket list destinations. One morning, as I watched the Today Show, there was a segment on the show that caught my eye, and it featured women embarking on this transformative, life-changing trip to Zion National Park, and it was filled with amazing activities like hiking to really high elevations, horseback riding, canyoneering, and just having like deep, meaningful connections with other women. When I saw this segment, I knew deep down inside, I was like, this is calling my name. I knew it was. And so I immediately started doing research to find out the company that put on this adventure, because I was like, I want to go do this. And so I found the company after doing a ton of research. And when I found the company, they said that the trip was actually sold out. And I was like, oh gosh, I really want to go. But they said you could put your name on a wait list, and my fingers were crossed. So I put my name on a wait list, hoping that, maybe somebody would drop out, because it was just a small group of women. It was like they only take a maximum of 14 women on the trip. And lo and behold, one day I got an email saying, nope, Suzanne, somebody canceled. Do you want their spot? And of course, I was like beside myself. I jumped at the chance and I said, I'm all in. I paid my deposit, and I was not, to be totally honest, I was a little worried because I was going solo. But when I asked the lead on these trips, she said, no, a lot of women go solo on these trips. And I asked her the age group of the women, and she said a lot of the women are in midlife, because for me, I was in my mid-50s and I didn't want to go on a trip, no offense, with women that were in their 20s and 30s. I wanted to be with women my age that were like-minded like me, going on adventures and doing new things in their life. So anyways, as I reviewed the itinerary for the week, I was really excited about all of the activities, hiking up to high elevations. I was like, oh, I can do that. There was also a hike that goes through the Narrows, which is a river that runs through the canyon. I'm sure if you're on Instagram and you follow any travel accounts, that you've probably seen pictures of people hiking through the Narrows in a river, and it's spectacular. And I was like, oh, I can't wait to do that. And when it came to horseback riding, I was like, oh, I've loved horses since I was in the 5th grade. So I'm going to have a ball horseback riding. It's one of my favorite things to do. In fact, I don't get to do it enough. Anyways, there was one activity, though, that made me take a big pause, which was the canyoneering. And even though I saw it on the Today Show segment and it looked so spectacular and fun, and if you're not familiar with canyoneering, you're not alone. Neither was I. When I Googled it, I saw brave people rappelling down a steep vertical decline into stunning like slot canyons. And they were red, orange, and wave-like, and it was so beautiful. And for some people, and maybe even you, this might sound like the perfect activity for you to do, right? But for me, it was completely terrifying. And it was terrifying because what you don't know about me is I have a paralyzing fear of heights. And this I discovered was when I was about 14 years old. My parents took me on a trip to Mexico, and we climbed a pyramid. And we were climbing up the steps of this pyramid that were not just normal steps. They were super steep. There was no railing. And when I got halfway up to this pyramid, all of a sudden I started to feel this panic inside of me. And I was like, oh my God, I'm really high. And now I don't know how I'm going to get down. And I froze. And I sat down on this steep, narrow step. And I looked down, and my mom was at the bottom of the pyramid, and she's looking up at me, and she saw that I was completely terrified. I mean, I was completely frozen with fear. I was unable to move. And quite honestly, the blood completely drained out of my face, and I turned white as a ghost. In fact, my mom took a picture of me from the bottom of the pyramid, and you can just see the terror in my face. I need to find that picture because if I can, I'll put it into the blog post on my site. But anyways, that's a story for another time. But that was the first time that I realized that I had a fear of heights. So anyways, going back to my story about going on this trip to Zion National Park in Utah, is about a month before the trip to Zion, the fear of canyoneering started to overwhelm me. Like my emotions were all over the map, and my head was filled with like all these negative thoughts. And then what started to happen is I started to doubt myself. And I started to say, ask myself, well, gosh, what if my fear paralyzes me again, like it did when I was in Mexico, while I'm rappelling down and I get stuck? Then what do I do? And then I thought about, well, gosh, I know I'm athletic, but what if I can't do it? And then I thought about the worst thing you could think about is, what if I fall and hurt myself? Or the worst, die, right? Or what if I fail? Like I can't complete the activity, then I'll feel like such a loser. So my mind was all over the place. And, a few weeks before the trip, something significant shifted inside of me. Because I started to realize, like as a life coach, I realized that, Suzanne, you are letting your fear control you. So that's when I decided to take my power back. And when I say that I took my power back, here's what I did. I began to embrace canyoneering as a new adventurous challenge for me. And I stopped resisting it with my fears, because the whole time that I was so scared about this whole thing, I was resisting it. And that put my body into flight or fight mode, which was exhausting me. And I began to lean in fully with every part of my being, my mind, my heart, my body, and soul. Like I was like, you're going to commit to this, right? And I let go as an admitted control freak. You've been following me for a while. I have admitted to this. I let go of the need to control. And I also let go of needing to know every single detail of this activity. Because that's the type of person I am. I'm like, well, if I'm going to go on something, I want to know every little thing, right? Because that's control, or so I think is control. And here's what I did in doing that. By letting go of needing to know every detail and control everything, is I began to trust the process. But not only trust the process, I was trusting myself that I made the right decision to do this, that I wanted to do this. I also began to trust that the equipment, and more importantly, my expert guides would safely get me through to the finish line. Because that's not good publicity for them if people are hurting themselves or can't finish. So I trusted the process that my guides, who are experts at canyoneering, were going to get me through to the finish line. So fast forward to the morning of the day we were all going canyoneering. So I'll be honest with you, even with my new positive attitude, not going to lie, I was still a huge bundle of nerves. And as we drove out there in Jeeps and we were getting closer to the base where we had to climb up to the top of the canyon, it was funny because as we started to climb, and it was not a set paved path. It was super sandy, super steep, and we were making our own path. And as I took each step up, I started to realize that, oh my God, this climb is scary because it was not enclosed. There were no safety railings. And I couldn't look down because I was starting to feel that fear come in that, oh my God, we're getting higher and higher. And as it became uncomfortably steeper, I just focused on one step at a time to get to the top. One step at a time, the next step, and I refused to look down. Which was a good thing because I was so afraid that if I looked down, I would freeze again like I did when I was 14 on the pyramid in Mexico. And I just kept telling myself in my head as I was climbing is you didn't come this far to only come this far. You're committed and you're 100% in. And to be honest, the other thing that popped into my head was, this climb feels scarier than the canyoneering. I am not coming back down this mountain, hiking back down. There's only one way down, and it's canyoneering. So when we finally reached the top, here's what happened. We started to gear up, and I'm checking my safety straps. And to be honest, I triple checked my equipment safety straps, because I was so nervous. And I started feeling like my heart beating faster, my mouth getting dry. And one woman, Linda, who was about 70 years old, and she was actually more terrified than I was. And after we all had our equipment on, we're ready to go, she volunteers to go first. I was completely shocked. I was actually completely taken aback by that. I was like, oh my God, she's so brave. She's braver than I am. And she said, if I don't go now, I'll never go. And when she said that, that was when I realized if I waited too long and watched everyone else go before me and descend down, and if I went last, by that time I would be a basket case. I knew that would happen, and it would only increase my fear more. So before I knew it, after she was done, I blurted out, "I'll go next." And that's when my heart started pounding even faster than it already was. And I started getting dizzy and weak in my knees, and my mouth became so dry it felt like a desert. And my stomach was getting that churning with anxiety feeling of being topsy and turvy. And in that moment, I felt like I wanted to take back my words, but it was too late. There was no turning back now. They were clipping me in to the rope to the bottom, and I was all in. And so as I was standing on the edge, the guide at the top looked at me, and I just kept focusing on his eyes. I couldn't see to the bottom, and to be honest, nor did I want to. I was like, I can't look down because I know if I look down, I could freeze. And quite honestly, I felt like I was going to pass out. But as I took my first step backward, and even though my heart was racing and my legs were shaking, instead of focusing on how high up I was, I focused on my breathing. I started taking some deep breaths in and slow exhales out. And I just kept focusing on deep breathing in and out. And I just had to trust the process. And I just kept locking my eyes with my guide at the top as he kept saying to me, step this way, step to the right, step to the left. And his voice was so calm. And he kept saying to me, Suzanne, you've got this. And as I'm descending downward, I'm like, hell yeah, I've got this. And with each step, I started to feel, believe it or not, my fear began to dissipate. And it started to transform into confidence and strength. And I kept going down, down, down. And then the guide at the bottom of the canyon, as I got closer to him, he was guiding me too, and I just trusted the process. And as I could feel myself getting closer and closer to solid ground, I could feel a sense of relief. Like, oh my gosh, I'm doing this. I did this. And when my feet finally touched solid ground, I felt like Wonder Woman. I couldn't believe I had actually done it and conquered my biggest fear, the thing that I had been worrying about for months. And when they took the straps off of me and released me from the rope, I looked around, and the red and orange slot canyons surrounding me with natural waves of beauty, it was so worth it. Because here's the thing, it was even more breathtaking than the pictures on Instagram. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad this is one of my bucket list destinations because it was so worth it and I was living my dream. And as we hiked through the slot canyon, we did more things going through the slot canyons. And we had 2 more steep rappels to go through. And the second one, was this rappel down into water, which of course made me a little nervous. but I knew I could do it. Because I felt after the first rappel, I honestly felt completely invincible, even though I was a little nervous. And it was amazing to be surrounded by other women who were feeling that strength and empowerment and inspiration. Like we had all faced our fears and we all came out victorious on the other side. And it was amazing. And by the time we got through to the end, and out of the canyon, we all felt a sense of accomplishment and strength. A strength that I had never felt in my life. I honestly felt so transformed. And here's what I will tell you. My biggest revelation on this trip, in doing all of those things, the hiking up to high elevations, hiking through the narrows in a river, horseback riding, and canyoneering, at the end of this trip, the guides asked us, what was the thing that you loved the most about this trip? And that's when I had my biggest aha moment. It was my biggest revelation because what I shared was the thing I feared the most turned out to be what I loved the most about this trip, which was crazy. It was completely crazy to me that here I was, my biggest fear turned out to be the thing I loved the most. And now I have like this renewed sense of my capabilities. Like I'm confident that if I could conquer canyoneering, I could conquer anything. So how can my story help you? I want to share with you some key takeaways to help you in conquering your own fears. Because when I got back from that day of canyoneering, I reflected and I started journaling about the things that I discovered about myself and how we can face our fears and come out on the other side victorious. So the first thing I want to share with you is don't think too much, just do it. And here's what I mean by that is if you wait too long to jump in and do something, you're going to think too much about it. And trust me when I say your negative mind chatter will get the best of you. And what will start to happen is you'll start to talk yourself out of doing whatever it is. Because you'll start to feel like you can't do it. So again, promise me this is that when you want to do something that brings you fear, is don't think too much about it. Just do it. And I know for some of us, that's really hard because we can think too much, right? Number 2 is you don't need to know everything. And if you're a control freak like me, you're probably saying in your head right now, yes, I do, Suzanne. I need to know. No, you don't. I'm an admitted control freak. And I didn't need to know everything. And thank God I didn't need to know everything because after we finished canyoneering, I actually found out there were 3 rappels that we did that were 90 feet. The first one was 90 feet. The second one was 40 feet. And the third one was 25 feet. And this is what I can tell you. Had I known beforehand those 3 big drops into the slot canyons, I would have told myself I couldn't do it. So thank goodness I actually went in completely blind. So if I can go in blind, you can too. You don't need to know every step of the way to get to the end. Sometimes knowing too much can make the path look scarier than it really is. Okay, number 3, have the right guide. So if you're trying something new and you feel uncomfortable or uncertain, like I did with canyoneering, We had expert guides, people that do this all the time, that guide beginners down a canyon. And so I trusted that I had the right guides and experts to get me through to the end of the canyoneering activity. And so for you in your own life is to find the right quote unquote guides, whether that's a life coach, a business coach, a love coach, the right experts to help guide you through every step of the way to the finish line. And trust that they have the expertise to get you to the finish line. Okay, the next tip is to just breathe. What I found in that process, and actually what I didn't share earlier, is I do breathing exercises every morning, and it calms me. Breathing exercises can actually help calm the vagus nerve. And that will induce calm into the body. So if you get anxious, just practice breathing deep. So a deep breath in through your nose and blow out slowly through your mouth. And keep repeating the process. Breathe in deep through your nose, hold it, and blow out, exhale through your mouth. And keep repeating that. And trust me, whenever I have anxiety or I'm feeling nervous about something, those breathing exercises help me. And it helped me in the canyoneering. When I felt like I wanted to pass out in the first rappel, that's all I focused on. And that's what helped me get me through to the end. Okay, the next step is you may fall. You may fall along your journey and you're like, oh, great, Suzanne, thanks. But it's okay. Don't be so hard on yourself. Just brush yourself off, get back up, and more importantly, keep going. Just like when you were a kid. When you would fall, you wouldn't just lay there and go, oh, I'm hurt. You'd get back up and keep going. It's the same now as an adult. Brush yourself off and keep going. My next tip is don't do it alone. A lot of us act like lone wolves in our adult life, that we have to do everything by ourselves. And I don't want to accept help, right? So this is what I will tell you is alone you are strong. Yes, you are. But the truth is we are stronger together. And it's so important to find a tribe of like-minded women who are on the very same path you are to support you on every step along your journey. I will tell you on that trip, and going and doing all of those different activities with like-minded women who were so supportive of each other, we were so connected, was so amazing. And so find your tribe of like-minded women that are going to support you through life's adventures. And I don't mean taking trips. I mean through the ups and downs of midlife and the things that we're all going through in midlife. And my last tip is this, is you didn't come this far to only come this far. It's not about how fast you go. It's honestly just about taking one step at a time. The important thing is to not get stuck and don't give up. Just like if you were driving in your car on a road trip and let's just say the car broke down. You wouldn't go, oh, the car broke down and just sit there, right? And go, oh, I guess I have to end my trip. No, you would get out, you would start problem solving, you would figure it out so that you could keep going. So it's important to just make it to the finish line. And remember this, you've got this. So I invite you to start leaning into your fears like I did and taking the first step, because you never know what's on the other side of them. And you may be surprised at what you can achieve in life. So lean in and you'll be so proud of yourself. Hey there, if you enjoyed this podcast and are ready to transform midlife into your best life, visit SuzanneOshima.com to become an insider and join my email list. As an insider, you'll be the first to know about new episodes and gain access to exclusive content that empowers and inspires you on your midlife journey today and in the future.